Hi friends, Andrea here with a new video. In this opportunity as a guest designer for Paige Evans on her Paige Pals Mini Album kit. This is the very first one and I'll be working with the Here and Now collection by Dear Lizzy with American Crafts. And I am creating a mini album inspired on a different one that I did about a year ago, where I used the acetate piece to create a folder for a mini album. Now the structure on the small mini album was by a tutorial from Paige, by a code file that Paige had a year ago, where you folded just one piece of 12 by 12 paper and you ended up with an entire 2x2 mini album. In this opportunity, it's going to be a little bit different, but I'm using as inspiration that folder that I created. So I added machine stitching details and now some double-sided tape for the side pockets, and that's where both my cover and my front cover and back cover will slit in. That's what's gonna hold the entire mini album. Just remove the pieces of double-sided tape. You just have to be careful when you fold the acetate to not do it too strongly that you rip it, but it will hold really, really well. This is the perfect material. I did reinforce those pockets with some machine stitching, additional machine stitching. Now I have the actual folder and it seems we're gonna go with the structure first. So the idea to create the pages of this mini album is to just we're gonna cut a piece of paper, and this one is at 4 3/4, and that's what we have there, and then we're folding at 4 1/2. I will have the measurements for the actual folder and the pages, the measurements for those, so it's easy for you since we're all getting the same 6 by 12 piece of acetate. I'll make it easy for you in case you want to create a mini album in an acetate folder like this. So now I have all of the pages. I already chose and decided which one will go after which one. Have them all ready. Now I'm folding them in half. Got all of them, and I use a piece of cardstock to measure and actually make the guide for my folder. I didn't want to play with the acetate until I was entirely sure where I was going to fold it. Now I did have some extra pattern paper after I created my pages, and I really wanted to use it. And Paige included a needle and one piece of embroidery floss that I really wanted to use. So I'm cutting these pieces of paper the same width, but they are gonna end up being not as tall as the other ones, so they're gonna be perfect we can create some kind of folder and stitch through those. The way that we're going to build the base of our mini album is just gluing back the pages back to back. But with this mini folders, we're gonna make it different, and we are gonna have them as interactive pages. So as we stitch them, we're gonna be able to see both sides of the paper, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. Now I'm using this pattern paper for my cover and back cover. So I just have to cut the paper on the size of only one of the sides. So now I'm making sure that it actually fits, and now I'm measuring, since they're gonna be glued back to back, I just need that half page. We do the same. I need 2 of those, back and back cover. I will add the machine stitching details. And now I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers tool to open the holes. So I'm taking the 2 pages that I want to stitch together. Now center this and poke the holes. And I leave about 2 holes in between poking holes. I'll show you one more time. In the middle, I started on the second one, and then each one of the ones that had the additional circle around them. That's the pattern that I followed. Now I'm using my needle and my embroidery floss, and I go one by one, up and down and back. Once I get to the end, I just come back and follow the same pattern, fill in the gaps. And I made 4 of these interactive pages, and that one piece of embroidery floss that Paige included in the kit was exactly what I needed. Tie a knot in the back, and that's it. And I just repeated the process 3 or 4 times. I believe 4 times. Okay, same thing. I started from the back. Right, tie the knot, and again I repeated the process 4 times. That piece of embroidery floss was enough. One of the reasons why I decided to add those interactive pages in the very beginning is because once I placed all of my pages back to back, I felt that my spine on my folder was too thick, and I just needed to add more. I needed my actual book to be thicker. I knew that I was going to be adding elements with dimension and lots of texture, but I still wanted the actual spine to the actual book to be a little bit thicker. So now I'm using double-sided tape. The first page, I'm adding double-sided tape on both sides, since that's the one that's going to have the cover adhered to it. Once you're done with that, you really only need to add double-sided tape to one of your pages on the back side, since the next page will already have the double-sided tape. There we go. You can see exactly. You see how only one of the pages, this is the first one, and it's the one that we're using to adhere the cover to it. So we have the double-sided tape on both sides. In that, whatever piece of pattern paper you choose, you just have to keep in mind that it's gonna be seen through the acetate. So it somehow has to be a pattern that is not too busy, or that really it's going to take from the acetate. You really want the acetate to be the shining piece here. You're not really gonna decorate that unless you're using, because one thing that you can do is, if you have a piece of acetate that it's just plain, then by all means play with the patterns on the cover of the actual book. But otherwise, let that acetate steal the show. Okay, we do the same with the back cover. I just remove the excess. Since we are gluing all of the pieces individually, it might be some excess if we're not super precise when we are gluing them back to back. Okay, now I'm just gonna test this, and it's looking pretty good. So we're gonna create the strap that we're gonna use to keep our mini album closed. So I'm using super sticky double-sided tape, and since we cut this is a 3/4 of an inch thick strip that we cut from the 6x12 piece. So since it is the same pattern, it doesn't really matter. I go all the way from the back, and it doesn't take from the actual design since it is the same pattern. Right, so I use a piece of Velcro on each side. You can see here how the mini album, it's not fixed, it comes out, and I just mixed different elements to decorate my pages. I played with photos, I fussy cut pattern paper. You can see I used almost all of the paper clips. I used the die cut stickers, played with all of the products that Paige included in her kit. Now with this, the cool thing about this design is that it can stand up on its own, and it looks super pretty on a shelf or wherever you decide to keep it. You can see here some of the close-up pictures. And yep, this is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know if you have any questions. As I said, all the measurements should be in the description box below. You also have a link to subscribe to the Paige Pals Mini Album kits that Paige is putting together, and it was a pleasure for me to be able to create something that will hopefully inspire you to work with the products that you have at home. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. This was Andrea, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.